Hello, and welcome to week 8 of the UNPL Academy. I'm Zand, and we are sitting at 5-2 right now, but that does not mean we are safe for playoffs. We have quite a difficult final hill to get through because we have 2 more weeks of play left. Our opponent today is chilling right in that top 4 with us, and our opponent next week is number 1. He has a better differential than we do, and we're sitting at plus 18 right now. He's sitting at plus 23 undefeated, so or 26 undefeated, which is crazy. Um, so we don't want to show off too many of our sets to our opponent both this week and next week because there's a good chance that we're gonna have to play them again. So I would really like a win this week so I could bring less serious prep next week, so that assuming we do run into our opponent again, we have a better chance. We don't show all our tricks immediately. Um, Regardless, our opponent this week is no slouch either. Our opponent this week is Sosa. Very strong team. Probably the team that's given me the most fits this entire season in terms of prepping, just because he has really solid roles set throughout his team, and it's really hard to break. So I will put his team up on the screen. The first thing that's difficult for me is all the setup he has, all the potential Calm Mind, the Swords Dances, Double Dances, in things like Terapagos that can Calm Mind. We've got, and Rapid Spin to get its speed up. We've got Garchomp that can Swords Dance, Scale Shot. Necrozma can do about anything, really. He's got Jolteon that can now Calm Mind, so that's scary. Dash Bun likes to Iron Defense if he does decide to bring it. And then Appleton, he's brought, and it's been like an Amnesia set. I know it also, I believe it gets Iron Defense, so he could run a defensive Double Dance and just be super annoying with Leech Seed. And then he's got some strong pivots that are also like his defensive backbone and things like the Quillfish with Flip Turn Intimidate, but also with Spikes, Toxic Spikes. He's got things like Persian Alola that can Parting Shot, U-Turn, Taunt, be generally really annoying to a lot of our team. As well as things like Skarmory, which if you don't bring fire or electric coverage into Skarmory, you're just asking to lose, unfortunately. It's so hard to break. Even with physical super effective coverage, it can be hard to two-shot sometimes. So Skarmory is a force to be reckoned with. And then he's got a couple of offensive threats that just kind of stand out where they don't set up, but they're just expressing immediate power. In things like the Dusk Noir that has a decent physical attack stat, my team is not the best into Ghost, so I definitely could see him bringing it, but he did recently pivot it away from being his Terra Captain, so I think it's less likely. And then Iron Jugulus. So Jugulus is actually pretty difficult for my team. It's a dark flying type, typically runs booster energy, but for this matchup where his speed tiers sit, I could definitely see him bringing something like a Power Herb Meteor Beam set to get himself +1. And then just dark flying coverage the crap out of my team and something like Earth Power, Flamethrower. Just 4 attacks and just go crazy. So I'm nervous about that. We'll see if he brings it. Hopefully I'm not giving any ideas if we have a rematch in playoffs. But let's look at my team. I've made so many changes, and I will say I at least considered every Pokemon on my team at least once. So if we have a rematch, I don't anticipate these 6 to be the 6 that show up at all. Number 1 is kind of our backbone. I had a really heat set for this week, but ended up deciding it was a little too risky. So I went very basic, leftover Screamtail, speed for the Jugulus, so always outspeeds that, and then just super bulky. It takes a lot of hits really well, and it comes in on a lot of things. Pretty much anything he has that wants to set up a Calm Mind, we're going to try to lock it in. Assuming he's wise to how often we bring Encore, I imagine he'll be switching out a lot on this to prevent the Encore. That's not going to stop me from clicking it. We have to stop him from getting Calm Minds up, because if we do, we don't have the best answers into it. So we've got to cut that off at the source. We've got the Walking Wake. This is our only Typhlosion answer. I don't know if I anticipate him to bring Typhlosion, but if he does, this is our best answer to it. And then we also have the AV just to help us live hits. We're not really bulk invested, but the AV helps us live one big hit from things like Terapagos, things like Appleton. Even if it's a non-invested Draco, we can live one. So we've got options. Surf and Draco, really all we needed for his team. I would have loved to run Specs this week, but if we Surf onto an incoming Appleton, we're going to feel real sad. So we might as well run Flip Turn to get some momentum out of it. We've got the Draco and Dragon Pulse just because he doesn't have great Dragon switch-ins, and I don't think this is a very good Dash Bun game. I could be mistaken, but I don't think Dash Bun looks very good into my team. It can't really do anything to Scream Tail ever. So I don't anticipate his Fairy to show up. His Terra Captains are the Jolteon, the Typhlosion, and the Appleton. I'm so sure that either Calm Mind Jolteon or Defensive Appleton has to show up here because Appleton is so important for his water resist, but also it can Terra into a dragon resist. So I think it's just a huge wake switch in. Whereas the Jolteon, I think with Calm Mind, Terra Ice, suddenly exudes a ton of pressure on my team. So I think either one of those sets could be scary. I don't really think Typhlosion shows up, but who knows? I've been wrong in the past. We've got Cinderace, who's heavy duty boots, and his job is if my opponent decides to bring Spike Stack on either Garchomp or Quillfish or Toxic Spikes or Stealth Rocks, we give them back to him. We don't want them, and yeah, he can keep his hazards, and if he sets them back up on our side, say we can't prevent him from resetting spikes, then we'll play with hazards on both sides. That's just how it's kind of going to have to be. We have this with heavy duty boots. We've got one Pokemon off the ground, but if he does stack us twice, then we're going to have to try to make some decisive moves. Pyro Ball and U-Turn are all we really needed for his team. There's not really ever a chance that Cinderace can break Garchomp or Quillfish. The best it could do is Will-O-Wisp them, but we have Will-O-Wisp elsewhere, so I thought it was better to tech on something like Super Fang. That way, if Terapagos thinks it can set up on us, we hit it for a big 50% hit. Also catches things like Quillfish on the switch in and weakens it a lot, where it doesn't have good recovery. We've got Copperaja making its debut this week, so Bisharp never showed up, but Copperaja only took 1 week on the bench before we brought it, so we've got the leftovers Super Spadef this week. We've got investment in 5 out of its 6 stats, but almost all of it's in its special defense just because its base HP is already so high. It's just here to help us check Pokemon once we confirm maybe they're not Calm Mind, or even if they are, things like Jolteon, we should always beat with this set because we can sub if he Terras, and then either Heavy Slam, Heat Crash, or Earthquake will knock out the Jolteon regardless of what Terra type it is. This coverage is also just really solid into his team. The Heavy Slams are doing tons of damage, and then if things like Quillfish want to come in and intimidate us after we have a sub up, it won't work, and then Earthquake does a huge chunk to it as well. So I like this set a lot. It's a good Spadef set. And then on the opposite side, we have Fizdef Slitherwing this week with the Citrus Berry. This is kind of our dedicated Garchomp answer. It's really nice because at +2, a Scale Shot will never knock us out because of the Citrus Berry, and then a close combat is going to do crazy damage back, or we could try to burn it, but I'm probably going to go for the damage if Garchomp's setting up Scale Shots. So, yeah, I like this as a good defensive check into a lot of his physically defensive mons, as well as a U-turn, so it forces in more of his special attackers, or things like Skarmory. We can U-turn and gain a lot of momentum off this guy. And then finally, we've got Kilowattrel. I played with this set a lot, and this was the first Pokemon I slated to play against him, but it has since changed so many times. Just because there's not really a great Kilowattrel set in this matchup, but I think it's way better than Sinistcha and Knuckle Stack, at least for round 1. I think I want to try this. I know that Electric and Ice is great coverage into his team. Terra Ice helps us 1v1 Terra Ice Jolteon. It would be better if we had flying coverage because then we would actually be able to two-shot him and him not two-shot us back. But ended up thinking there's a good chance he tries to set up Calm Minds on this with something like Necrozma or even Terapagos. And so I think if we can read the turn he tries to knock us out, we can go for an Endure. Red card them out. They lose all their boosts. Something random comes in. That random thing we can either Volt Switch on. We can Terra Blast if it's something like Garchomp, or we can go for Endeavor. Assuming we live on 1, suddenly we're knocking everything on his team down to 1 health. Because the 2 biggest problems Kilowattrel has is forcing out setup threats and then dealing damage to especially defensive Pokemon. So if we can force them out with our item and then force them to 1 health with an attack, I think we're doing pretty good. Now, there's a good chance we knock ourselves out with Endeavor because it is a contact move and we'll hit things like a Helmet Quillfish or a Rough Skin Garchomp. But I think if we can trade that for knocking them down to 1 health and essentially making them useless, it's a pretty good trade. So that's the team. I don't think it's the best possible team I could have brought, but it's the best thing I could come up with. We're going to go ahead and get straight into the battle. And we're back. Our opponent and myself both didn't set up a competition, so luckily he knew a way to set it up for the same day. It might take him just a second to get in, but honestly, looking at his team and what I really expect Terapagos, Garchomp, Necrozma, and either Jolteon or Appleton. So we'll see. And here he is. Good luck, have fun to my opponent, Sosa. And pretty much exactly what I expected. Except he brought both his Terra Captains, which makes it a little harder to nail down which one he's going to Terrasilize. So Terapagos, Garchomp, Skarmory, Necrozma, top 4. No Jugulus is a big relief. Makes me wish I brought Sinistcha, because Sinistcha looked really good into his team outside of it. No Typhlosion, no Quillfish. Glad I didn't bring a Spicy Cinderace tech. No Dusk Noir, no Dash Bun, however you prefer to say it, and no Persian. So I think very smart brings by him. He's pretty fairy weak. He's dark weak. Not that it matters that much. We don't have dark coverage this week. Bug week until Appleton Terrasilizes, and very ice weak. So Kilowattrel is actually looking really good here until he pops his Terra Captain. So I like Wake as a lead because we can flip turn out on his defensive mons, but also threaten things with Draco and Surf. Never gets one-shot by anything except a Scarfed Outrage Chomp, and if he leads Chomp, I probably just immediately pivot Screamtail. Because we can confirm if he's Scarf. If he just instantly clicks Outrage, we can assume he's either Scarf or Haban Berry. So yeah, let's do it. This is going to be a tough one. We either end up going 6-2 or 5-3. We're pretty much guaranteed playoffs, but the way it works is top 4 picks who they play from the bottom 4, and then the top 4, and then 5 through 8, and then 9 through 12 are eliminated, or something like that. So I'd like to be in the top 4 so I could pick my opponent, but I guess if we end up 4th, it doesn't matter anyway. So his lead of choice is Skarmory. I can bring up the calc real quick. Looking at our Walking Wake into Skarm. Surf should 2-shot max health variance. He may just immediately try to set up a spike or something. Body Press is doing about 1/3 to us, which is not too bad. So we'll just go for a Surf. Are you Spadef? You are not. So we do 2-shot. He does set up 1 layer of spikes, which is totally fine with me because we can give those back to him later if we choose. Does he give up Skarmory for 1 layer of spikes here? I don't think so. But he doesn't have great switch-ins to Wake because his only switch-in is Appleton, who doesn't want to take a dragon move, so we could flip turn out on it. I could flip turn this turn to try to get Cinderace in, but I do think I will just go for another Surf. I'm not too worried about whatever he wants to go into because we can either flip turn or Draco. So just thinking about this, I don't think he would want to give Skarmory up turn 2 because it is kind of a hard wall to things like Screamtail. It's very easy for it to heal up on, things like Slitherwing as well. So I imagine he wants to save it. But that's not going to stop me from trying to get damage down while I can. We did bring a pretty defensive team this week. So he does switch out. And he decides to bring in Tsunade, something like that, which is the apple. His Terra types for this are Dragon, Steel, and Fire. I imagine he wants to Terrasilize in front of us. He has leftovers, and that Surf did about 8%. So if we look, yeah, Surf's doing about 8% to max Spadef. I am just going to go for a flip turn. I know it does negative damage. It does 3 to 4%, but we can suss out his Terra. I imagine it's Steel. And it's good to know this Terra is now, so Jolteon can't. So Kilowattrel's looking a lot better into Jolteon. So it is Steel. We do get our flip turn, and I think Copperaja is our switch into this. The worst thing to happen would be if he Leech Seeded. We do flip turn, do actually more damage since he no longer quad resists. Cinderace could come in, but if he drops a Draco, that's not great for us. Could also bring Screamtail in. If he goes for a defensive move, we could Encore it. Screamtail is so important in this game. I mean, Copperaja is kind of here for just this. Jolteon, Necrozma, Terapagos. Worst thing he would do is set up. I'm just going to go into Screamtail. I don't think he goes for a Steel-type Terra Blast here. That would be kind of insane. We do get hit by Spikes, and he goes for Iron Defense. Okay, so we can lock him in with Encore. That's what I was worried about going into Copperaja, is him setting up Iron Defense or something similar. So we will get a Notepad up. We know, okay, we know that Skarmory is Spikes, and we know that it's chilling at like 40%. He's got Appleton, that's Steel, and it's Iron Defense. I mean, we can go ahead and burn an Encore. He can obviously switch in Skarmory here. Okay, but he doesn't, which is nice for us. The funny thing is, we don't break this very well now. So he is now locked into Iron Defense. What is our strongest hitting move into this? Because all of our super effective coverage is physical, which is going to do negligible damage. But if he is Terra Steel, then Surf is doing a little more with Wake. We can go Ace. We can go Slitherwing and burn it. It's tough. This is actually really threatening into our team. Because Slitherwing or Screamtail obviously can't hurt this at all. Could have ran Trick Scarf. That would have been good here. We'd also bring in Kilowattrel as kind of a medial pivot. Because we can always just Volt Switch back into the Screamtail. Spikes don't bother us at all. So we'll go into Kilowattrel. Does he also switch? Because I think it's possible he would bring in Skarmory here. He does also switch. Is it the Skarmory? That's what we want to see. I think that's Skarmory. Nice. Okay, so we did call that correctly. So I think a Volt Switch is as free as it's going to be here. No ground type. Or, well, Garchomp. Do I want a Terra? Because if I Terra, it doesn't really make me any better against Jolteon at this point, so maybe concealing the Terra for now is better. We'll just go for the Volt Switch. Should knock out Skarm here. We do knock out Skarm, which is nice. So Kilowattrel did something. It is now 1, and Skarmory ended up going 0-1. It might get a kill with Spikes later if we can't get rid of them. Now what is our best neutral switch in here? Copperaja baits in Garchomp. We don't want that. Cinderace might bait in Garchomp. Cinderace kind of looks good here. It can definitely live a Jolteon hit. Screamtail, obviously he knows we have Encore now, so I don't know that that's our best play. So their wing has multiple things that it doesn't want to deal with. And then Wake is just going to bring the apple back in, I think. So I do kind of like Cinderace. Into Jolteon. Let's say he's Specs. Thunderbolt never KOs us. Unless he's Modest Specs. He brings in Garchomp. Which is fine with me. I won't Court Change yet. Because this could be Scarfed Quake. So I am just going to go into our dedicated Chomp answer in Slitherwing. Because, yeah, we do not want to take an Earthquake ever with Cinderace. And that's okay. We can learn a little about his set here. If he decides to Swords Dance, he won't KO us with Scale Shot. Outrage is maybe, but he does go for Poison Jab, predicting the Screamtail. Does a decent amount. Poison Jab. So that did Screamtail. We're at 261 and we took Spikes. So we're at 65%, 88. We took about 31% from that. So not max attack, it seems. Does anything on his team want to take a burn? No, absolutely nothing loves being burned here, so I am just going to go for the Wisp. Is Breaking Swipe to reduce our attack. Doesn't do that much damage though, and he is a defensive chomp, which is good to know. We do get our Citrus. Pop it a little earlier than I would have liked, but it does help. If he does have a tricky move in the back. We do land the Will-O-Wisp. Is he Lumberry? Because if this sticks, then I am so happy. Okay, he's not Lum. Nice. Okay, Garchomp is suddenly not nearly as big of a threat, which is such a relief. He doesn't have great switch-ins to this, actually. His whole team is weak to bug fighting, or at least neutral to it, counting Jolteon. I can Morning Sun to stay healthy. I could also U-turn to keep momentum, because this Garchomp, the Slitherwing's only here for Garchomp. So we'll just go for U-turn. He does Poison Jab again. Does 40 damage, not a problem at all. U-turn. Does Rough Skin us down. So I probably just want to pivot back into the Slitherwing at this point. Might be AV with the interesting moves he's got on here. So Garchomp at like 80%. How much is Kilowattrel Terra Ice doing to an AV Garchomp? Still like 95 to 112. So I think Kilowattrel's pretty safe here. Could be Yachi Berry, but I don't really see that, and he showed that he's not super physically offensive, so if he's no physical investment, and he's Stone Edge, which is the only thing that would hit us super effectively. Oh, he's burned also, so he can't KO us. So I think it's fine. I could also go Wake and just drop a Draco Meteor, but that brings the stupid Apple back in. Although I suppose Kilowattrel does do the same. I'm going to go Kilowattrel, though. I think now's as good a time as any to Terrastalize. So he is leftovers. Okay, not AV. So Terra Ice definitely blows this back. The only thing that really wants to come in on it is the Apple. So we will go for Terra Blast. Because he might just give this up, honestly. He might just sack the Chomp. And I don't want to make an over prediction. So he does Hard Switch. And it is into the Apple, which is fine. We have an answer for this. Do Terrastalize. And we don't want to show off our Kilowattrel tech until we absolutely have to. So, biggest threats to us right now are definitely Necrozma and the Turtle. Terrapagos is insane to try to prep for, honestly. So do get the Terra Ice. Did that do 1 damage? That's so funny. So it's Spadef Appleton, Terra Steel. Yeah, it's 5 to 6% with Thick Fat. That's so funny. We'll just Volt Switch. Get a baby amount of damage on it. 20 odd percent, you know, it's not bad. If he's Terra Blast, let me just see how much that does into Screamtail. I don't think he would be, but if his other move is Body Press, then maybe. Terra Blast is doing less than half, so we're fine. We probably want to switch this switch in up at some point. We're all off the ground, but we still take spikes damage because that makes sense. He's Apple Acid. It's 80-ish to us. So he's Iron Defense, Apple Acid. Could lock it into it, but we're going to take a ton of damage from the next one. Obviously, we could go into Cinderace and scare it a little bit. Go into Wake. Scare it with a Surf a little bit. I think we're not too bad off into Garchomp now. So Slitherwing is also a little bit expendable here. Because if he is just Body Press and Recover, then it's really not ever breaking this. Yeah, Body Press is not doing anything. And if we come in on a Draco, it's probably not KOing since he's so Spadef. It's kind of a roll. I'm not as concerned about Chomp as I was, so I think it's fine to use Slitherwing a little more recklessly now. So he goes for Apple Acid again. Totally fine. It's 50-ish, so another one would actually have a chance to KO. But if I'm not mistaken, he only has one Pokemon that wants to come in on a CC, and that's Necrozma. Adversely, I could Morning Sun once, but a Draco's definitely knocking us out. So I think it might be better to just go for damage. But we really don't have another Pokemon we can heal on, so I think if he switches this out, which is pretty likely, then getting this heal would be really nice. So he does switch. Could have also U-turn, but I think having health on Slitherwing is really nice for us. Goes into Chomp, which is totally fine with me. Do just get a Morning Sun up. I assume he's going to continue going for poison jabs to try to get the poison on us. Burn is doing no damage to him, really. What I think we'll do this turn is I will go for one more Morning Sun to completely heal up, and then I'll go for either CC or U-turn. So we do go for Morning Sun here. Just goes for jab. He's trying to fish for the poison. It's totally fair play. Gets a crit and poison. Crit doesn't matter because we're going to heal back to full anyway, and poison's okay. Something we'll just have to deal with defensive Slitherwing. We do have to keep in mind that Necrozma could be physical with like Dragon Dance. In all my prep, I anticipated special, but it definitely could be physical. So I can U-turn pretty freely here, get Kilowattrel back in, or I could go into Wake this time. Also, I could close combat, but if it's defensive Garchomp, then CC's not KOing, and then I have to make a prediction next turn. Yeah, CC's doing under half, so we'll just go for a U-turn. That's just Poison Jab again, so he just never wants me to get Scream Tail in. U-turn, we will take the helmet. We do knock him down to about 50%, so it is pretty safe for us to just go into Wake here. We could also give him his spikes now, because if he's burned, he's not KOing Ace, but I don't know that we want to take a ton of damage on Ace either. But spikes would be really nice to chip him down. I just don't know that this is the Pokemon we do that on. So we'll get Wake in. His only switch into this is the Appleton. And if we keep just chipping it down, then we're in good shape. I don't think a Surf KOs this, else I'd like to click it. No, unfortunately not. I will just click Dragon Pulse. It should always KO. Draco is going to do significantly more damage though. So I think I will actually just click the Draco. Because we do want to, we want some meaningful damage on that Appleton eventually. And we miss. And he goes for Draco himself. We are AV, so we do eat this. But that's not great. So, luck not in our favor so far. We did land the Will-O-Wisp, I suppose, so we can't say we're incredibly unlucky. I will drop another Draco. Odds of him going into Appleton here are likely. We do actually land. Okay. Unfortunately, Wake just lost a lot of its usefulness because things like Jolteon might be able to revenge us now. We can calculate really quickly. We are at 105 health. Jolteon with Thunderbolt is doing 102 men if it's max special attack without an item, so it's not fantastic. So now he has an option, a good option for to go into. Obviously, Appleton's really free for him here. But he definitely could go into something to try to start setting up since we are at -2. But we do get a pivot on whatever he decides to bring in, which is fine. So, took an amazing amount of damage on this for no reason. But that's okay. Sage of 6 comes in. Who is that? The Terapagos has shown itself. So, he might want to spin to get his speed up. I think I just flip turn, break the shell. I will just flip turn, break the shell. I thought it missed for a second. I was terrified. Does baby damage, but now he no longer has Terra Shell active, which is really nice. And one answer to this is definitely Copperaja, because it just eats Terra Starstorm. Should eat 2 Earth Powers. I mean, maybe. Eats 2 Earth Powers. Heavy Slam does a ton of damage, though. Yeah, I think that's our best play. Screamtail could stop setup, but if he goes for a big hit, I'd rather not take it on Screamtail. He goes for the spin to get his speed up. Makes sense. Gets 30 damage with the spin, which, yeah, that checks out. So, Heavy Slam is doing something like half to him. He is doing about half to us as well. I'm okay trading damage. Is Earth Power. We don't even take half of our remaining health from that, so he is timid. And Heavy Slam is a 2-shot on him. Nice. Okay. So we're in good shape. We eat another Earth Power, guaranteed. His main answer to this in the Garchomp is gone. So we can just go for another Heavy Slam. It'll leave us low. But we will get rid of the Terrapagos. And if he brings something else in on this, Jolteon and Necrozma don't appreciate a Heavy Slam. And Appleton we can Earthquake afterwards. Or even sub up on. Does Earth Power again. Knocks us down to 65. Very low. We do get a Heavy Slam off, and Copperajah actually does something, which is kind of sick. So Wake is at 1 kill. And Copper is at 1. And then Garchomp is gone. And definitely won't get a KO. He brings in Necrozma. And not only is Garchomp gone, but Terrapagos is gone. So for this, I don't even want to give it a chance to set up. I know that our Heavy Slam is doing a lot of damage to a Necrozma. Like 60 to 70%. Necrozma gets things like Iron Defense though, right? Pretty sure. Yeah, Necrozma gets Iron Defense. So I am just going to go into Screamtail. If he Dragon Dances, there's a chance he can KO us at +1. But I can't let it just start getting Calm Minds or Iron Defenses up for free. That Heavy Slam would have done a ton of damage. I don't know that he would bring Iron Defense on 2 Mons, but we have to be safe. What setup move are you? Calm Mind. Okay, great. Love to see that. So suddenly a non-threat because Screamtail comes in on it. So we can get rid of Skarmory on this. So we know his Appleton. We know his Necrozma is Calm Mind. And then he's got a Jolteon that's been sitting in the back menacingly. So I can Encore. I'm going to do it. Okay, yeah. So he thought I might overpredict. And he can keep setting up Calm Mind if he chooses. Oh, okay. Mental Herb. Earth Power. Does very little. And we actually can re-Encore here if we choose. And suddenly Kilowattrel can come in on it. I don't know that that's our best play. We can also Wish. We'll just get my health back. So Mental Herb, that's cool. Earth Powers again. The next one will take us out. So I can go for a Protect. I'm hoping it makes him want to set another Calm Mind, but I know he won't in front of this. But I will just go for Protect. The only way this bots us in the butt is he's also speed boosting. If he's not speed boosting, this never breaks us. Yeah, so let's just click Earth Power. So Mental Herb, that's so cool. Earth Power. Yeah, this never breaks us. And if he ever decides to switch up moves, we can Encore it. And if he doesn't, eventually we can Encore it, bring in Kilowattrel. We'll just go for another Wish. Best case, we can actually Wish Pass into something else. Our team is really weak to ground. Honestly, I did not make this team very much with the mindset of controlling our weaknesses, so I understand why he would bring so much ground coverage. That's about 110. It's quite strong. So what I could do is switch in Kilowattrel here. I don't know that that's my play. Could Encore him into the Earth Power, and then Kilowattrel +1 special defense. Kilowattrel's doing like nothing, like 25%. I mean, Gleam from us is also doing absolutely nothing, so I think I will go for the Encore. He does switch. Okay, that's a good switch. We do get Screamtail back to full, though, which is nice. The Apple comes back in. And Encore fails, of course. I assume we beat this with Screamtail, but he might try to set up an Iron Defense here. So I think I'm okay with putting up another Wish. Obviously we have to deal with this eventually, because it's just going to be annoying. I am going to just go for a Wish, though, in case he tries to set up. If he goes for Apple Acid, we go into Slitherwing. If he goes for Iron Defense, we can Encore. And if he goes for, you know, Body Press or Recover, we can also Encore that. There's no reason for him to recover here. We'll just throw up another Wish. So we are slow playing this. I did mean to play a little faster. It does Apple Acid. Crits. Okay, that's not great. Our Screamtail's now a lot weaker than I would want it to be. But when you slow play, hacks is going to happen. I wish we hadn't had the hacks happen on Wake. So if we look at it quickly, because I don't want to take a ton of time here. At Walking Wake, can we wish it back up on an Apple Acid? Probably. Max attack Apple Acid is doing 100. We're at 105. We're going to take a little bit in Spikes. We'd also bring in Cinderace to finally move the Spikes over, but at this point it really doesn't matter that much. Definitely could go Copperaja. Slitherwing is also just really safe, though. So I think we just go Slitherwing. We will burn this thing, or burn the Necrozma. So, Core Chain Cinderace really not doing what it was supposed to. Is Iron Defense. Okay, so predicted us to switch out, which is totally cool. Set is pretty tough for us to deal with, honestly. So he's no longer scared of a close combat, that's for sure. We can go for a Will-O-Wisp. We're not scared of a Body Press, we're not scared of an Apple Acid. So I think just burning this, getting rid of the Leftovers recovery, and halving the damage of Body Press is really nice. And we miss, because why wouldn't I miss every move that's not 100% accurate? He's just continually setting up Iron Defense, though. Could U-turn back into Screamtail here, because he will think I'm going for another, Will-O-Wisp, because I did miss that one. So we'll just U-turn. Hopefully he tries to get a +6. He did click his move very fast, so I'm hoping he didn't click Apple Acid here, because if he did, this is going to be a really awkward endgame. We're going to have to burn Kilowattrel's red card. Oh, he did go for Apple Acid, so he's playing me. We don't really want to take two more. Shoot, that Will-O-Wisp would have been nice, assuming he's Body Press. So I think he goes for another Apple Acid here, and I think this is the best time for us to burn Kilowattrel, because this thing is a problem. Kilowattrel always eats when, I'm assuming, even though it's now Ice type, and we'll take Spikes. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll bring Kilowattrel in. We'll force it out. Unfortunately, we'll have to deal with either Necrozma or Jolteon coming in, but that's okay. We do take Spikes, unfortunately. It does go for another Apple Acid. It will hurt, because we are Terastallized. But we do drop its boost. This Appleton is being so annoying. It's kind of crazy. We force in Jolteon. Okay, so we do get to see the Jolteon finally. Might be Specs, and a Specs Terra Blast probably takes me out. I mean, a normal Terra Blast probably takes me out. 129 at max. Our Terra Blast from Terra Ice is doing about half to him. I think we save the Kilowattrel, because it could be really good into that Appleton at the end of the game. Unfortunately, our Spadef are all weakened, so I don't know that we can save the Kilowattrel tech. We live unless it's Specs, though. So I think I do just go for Endeavor, Terra Blast. I mean, worst case scenario is he's Calm Mind on this as well. This is tough. I want to save Kilowattrel. I think I go Raja here. Raja's just never going to get a chance to heal back up, so we at least don't let him set up more than +1. If you're Calm Mind too, I'm going to scream. Okay, Shadow Ball. So that would have KO'd probably. So there's no way for me to know if that was Specs, I don't think. If I look at Copper Raja into Jolteon. Shadow Ball. Well, after Spikes, yeah, there's no way for me to tell. This Cinderace, I imagine, always takes 1 Spec Shadow Ball. Oh, easily. Yeah, Cinderace always eats maybe 2. So we'll bring that in. What does he want to do against Cinderace? We could Court Change, but a Pyro Ball does knock this out, assuming we hit. Super Fang could do a lot. If he goes into Apple here, Pyro Ball is doing 50%. And then Necrozma is also taking quite a bit, I think. Yeah, about the same. So I'm just going to do that. Because regardless of what he goes into, we're doing a ton of damage. We can't let this get weakened now because it's our only Shadow Ball check. Does go into the Necrozma. This should do a good amount of damage. And it does land. Imagine that. It does less than I would have imagined. So it leads me to believe this is a more defensive Necrozma, at least max HP. We are free to U-turn. Could also take this time to Court Change, but I don't think we want Cinderace taking any damage at all. So we will U-turn. It is Stab, so we'll do quite a bit. Yeah, it knocks it down pretty low. Is that low enough for Wake to KO, I wonder? Yeah, even if he gets to +1, Wake should KO. I don't know that we live a hit, though. And Wake would be nice to help weaken the guy. So we'll just go into Scream Tail. I don't think we get 2-shot without him being at +1. Spike is incredibly annoying. That's just Earth Power. Yeah, we don't get 2-shot, especially after leftovers. Unless we get a Svidef drop. I can just Protect to get leftovers again, though. There's no chance he can set up on me. So that's annoying. Would this have knocked out Wake with Earth Power? It is Earth Power. So Scream Tail took 79% from Earth Power. So it's not super special attack invested. Somewhere in the middle. Obviously can't take another one. Walking Wake. Should live 1 after Spikes. Scream Tail should also live 1 right now after Spikes. I could also go Slitherwing, but we could get outsped. Don't want to go Kilowattrel. I should have just went Wake in the first place. That Spadef drop's pretty frustrating. I actually will just go for Wish. We should live this Earth Power. We are running him out of Earth Powers too. Yeah, we live at 29. So the Protect is the most obvious thing in the world here. But his options are go into Jolteon or go into Apple. He will switch into the Apple. Kilowattrel now is really good into this, in my opinion. So, Scream Tail into Appleton. We're at -1. I mean, Apple Acid's doing like a third. So I am free to Wish again. If he goes for anything other than Apple Acid, we can lock him in. Let's just go for Apple Acid. Totally fine. We're just trying to get Scream Tail as healthy as possible. I know this is an annoying way to play, and our only way to break the Appleton at this point is an Endeavor Kilowattrel, which is definitely not preferred. Protect is obvious here. He can't set up around it, though. Does Iron Defense, so now we can Encore. Eventually, we will run out of Encores. We are at -2 as well. So, could go into either Jolteon or Necrozma here to try to make a play. I actually kind of anticipate that. So I think what I can do is actually go into the Slitherwing, because it's he's not hurting us ever. The Encore is so obvious here. We don't want to throw away any of our pieces, but I do think Slitherwing is a decent switch here. Resets our special defense drops. We stay at full health. It's tough. Do we live a Spec Shadow Ball from Jolteon? And does he switch? I imagine he does. He doesn't switch, so he would have just let me Encore him. Shadow Ball. Jolteon. Choice Specs. Yikes. We live after spikes, but only barely. So, this did Apple Acid. Kilowattrel probably can't take another. It might be the time to sack Wake, unfortunately. A burn on this would have been really nice to stop any kind of residual healing. Slitherwing into Appleton. I mean, close combat's still doing like 50%, so I think we do just drop a CC here. Yeah, he's not physically invested at all. We do probably drop to the mixture of the poison and the apple acid here. It does Iron Defense again, so we might actually see him go for recovery here. What I can do is actually U-turn this turn into Scream Tail, and if he recovers, then we threaten Encore, and we're no longer Spidef dropped. So we'll just U-turn. Slitherwing is really low now. It's not really going to be able to deal with this anymore. This is a long game. I did not anticipate it being this much. We'll go into Scream Tail. He could definitely just Apple Acid again. But I anticipate he wants to recover. Does recover. Now, does he respect Encore this time? Because Encoring him to recover is not good for him. But his options are Necrozma, which is very low, and Jolteon, which I can protect to Scout. So I do think it's in my best interest to Encore here and not play games. Luckily, I did switch this Scream Tail set because it almost didn't have Protect, and we would have lost so long ago if we didn't have Protect, honestly. So that's kind of huge. It does okay, nice. So now we're burning his recovers, so we can start counting them. So recovers with full health. So Apple Acid, recover 2. And then Jolteon is Shadow Ball. And we can assume Specs. What I can do is go for Wish and try to pass that into something. Or I could try to make an aggressive read. And go directly into Cinderace. This is no threat to me, so Cinderace is actually a really free switch here. So we'll go that. He does just recover again. How long does Encore last? I gotta make sure I don't flub this. So in Generation 9 onward, Encore lasts exactly 3 turns. So that's turn 2. I am just gonna U-turn. He's gonna do no damage, especially after he recovers, but now he's gonna be down 4 recovers. Does recover. And Encore ends. Encore ends. Does he expect me to Encore again? I would imagine he does. But at this point, I kind of lose to this if I don't Encore again. So I think I will. If he switches... Okay, he doesn't switch, so we burn all the way down to 7 recovers. Recovers, but HP is full. We can take this time to get Wake back up, but then he's no longer Encored. So what I think I kind of want to do is let KILOWATTREL get weakened some more. I will bring in KILOWATTREL. There is a method to the madness, I swear. So we have to force the recover. That's recover number 6. Obviously, I can Volt Switch back into Screamtail, and he will have to struggle. I can also Endeavor him, but I guess that will just knock him back down. So all I'm trying to do is get KILOWATTREL as low as possible so that we can Endeavor this and let it knock itself out to struggle. So Volt Switch, that does more damage, which is good. And I will go back into Screamtail. Sorry, this is going to be a long game. I did not intend for it to be like this, but that's the nature of my more defensive builds. Recover number 7 comes out. He only has 1 left, so if we Encore after this, he's forced to struggle. I think it's in his best interest to switch out here. I can see he's trying to run me out of Encores. I kind of just want to go for another one. Because that is 7, yes? Because we forced it to use 3 twice, and it used 1 to begin with. So it's not going to fail because he's out of PP. So I will just go for it. Now he's forced to struggle. So we can make him knock himself out. So recovers. Now he's completely out of recover. I can't... Oh, Encore ended. I thought they struggled after they ran out of PP. That's an error on my part. Well, dang, I made a mistake. I didn't realize that on the last recover, he just stopped. So he does Apple Acid. We put up a Wish, but obviously we can't wish up anything here. He can no longer heal. I don't know what his last move is between Body Press and otherwise. I do think we need to sack something here in order to get KILOWATTREL in to Endeavor this, because it can no longer heal. So Screamtail and Cinderace together can handle his last 2. So we let Slitherwing go here. If it survives, then we get a Wish. Does have Dragon Pulse as his last move. Okay, so I was assuming Body Press. So he probably feels really good about the situation he's in at this point. But we do have a trump card tech that I'm so happy I put on it last second. So KILOWATTREL comes in, 57 health. And we will go for the Endeavor. Knock him all the way down to red. Dragon Pulse comes out. Takes out KILOWATTREL. So this Ableton took a lot to get around. But we finally got it down to the red. It will get leftovers back, but I do think Awake Surf will knock it out. Is our safest play. It's our only play. I mean, the Cinderace Pyro Ball would knock it out, but we will miss. Like, we can't risk the miss, you know? So Walking Weight into Appleton. If he's a Steel type, yeah, Surf should always knock it out. And then he revenges with either Jolteon or Necrozma. So he had to give up 3 Pokemon to deal with a Steel type Appleton, which is not what I would have wanted to do. But at the end of the day, it works. The Endeavor worked. So we do Surf. This should take it out. Okay, we do KO the Appleton. So what a monster. Appleton, I believe, got all 3 of those kills, unless I sacked Copperacha to something. So Wake is up to 2 kills. Kilowattrel ended up going 1-1, but did amazing. Copper went 1-1, and then we stacked Slitherwing, went 0-1. This can lock into whatever. Assuming it's specs. I mean, I don't want to miss again. If we hadn't missed that Draco, we would live any hit here. And be able to do a huge amount back. So I just want damage, I think. So I will just go for the Surf. He does Thunderbolt. He does KO. So, a choice specs, Jolteon into Screamtail. I mean, we can't 1v1 it with Screamtail, right? We always take 2, but we would stall it out of Thunderbolts. That would be our only play. And then Cinderace always takes 1 unless it's Modest, and KO's back with Pyro Ball. So that's our play. Hope it works. So we'll just go for Pyro Ball. 90% of the time we KO this Jolteon. If he's Modest, it's only a chance to KO, I think. Oh, it's not specs. Okay. Pyro Ball comes out, KOs. Nice. Jolteon ended up going 1-1. Necrozma is chilling at like 30%. I think what I can do is just U-turn. It's just safe. It should KO, but if it doesn't KO, Screamtail Dazzling Gleam hilariously KOs. It does KO. So we U-turn out of the match with a 2-0 win. But it was hard fought. GG's to our opponent. Sosa, you have great builds, honestly. Your brings this week were amazing. That was the perfect Appleton set for my team. I have no idea what that Jolteon was. Maybe it was Scarfed. Absolutely great brings. GG's, you did great. We'll probably see each other again in playoffs. We did have to slow play a lot of that game because I knew the sets he brought were dangerous, and fast playing was only setting ourselves up for failure. So we did have to end up using up a lot of our resources, barely scraping by with a 2-0, but we did end up having enough pieces to beat him. So if you watched to this, thank you so much. I really appreciate that you find this content entertaining, or at least like putting it on in the background. If you don't mind leaving a like or subscribing, I would really appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you for the final game of the regular season next week.